Hi, hello, welcome to my channel, Laugh, Love, Read. My name is Kayleen, but please call me Kay. We are here today to talk about Midnight Sun and Twilight. So I recorded a bit of me reading the book, and my reactions while reading. And then I filmed, my overall feelings of the book. If you don't want to watch the whole reading experience, you can skip to the end. I'll put a timestamp where you can just hear my final thoughts on the book. Stay tuned for more videos, maybe more reading vlogs, maybe more reviews, random things. I don't know that this will be strictly a solely typical booktube type of channel. I think that I want it to be more of like sitting down chatting, majority about books, but also random things and talking about books while doing random things. So we'll see what happens and what this turns into. So welcome. Okay, so I've been holding on to this box since 11 a.m. this morning, and I've been having to stop myself from opening this. It is now like 5:30, probably later in the afternoon. Sleep by the title, you know what it is. This is Midnight Sun. Like 14-year-old me is screaming right now. 27-year-old me is internally screaming right now. This is awesome. Oh my god, she is thick. So I looked at the page count online before I got it, because I was thinking it would be really similar in page count to Twilight, and I saw Twilight and it's actually 468 pages and this is 600 and something. I forgot what it was. 658, which I don't mind at all, but yeah, this is gonna be awesome. So Twilight, for me, like for I'm sure many of you who are reading Midnight Sun, was very important in my teenage years. I was obsessed. I think Twilight was the first series saga that got me into series. Before that I was reading standalones, and this was kind of when I discovered that I was actually interested in following characters along for more than just one book. I binge read Twilight in a day, and that is the plan for Midnight Sun. I think this will be much easier because as soon as Stephanie Meyer announced that she was thinking of writing this book, it's all 14-year-old me wanted. And when she released the chapters, I thought that she should have just written Twilight from Edward's perspective. I found it much more interesting, but looking back now, I know that we would have missed out on Bella's thoughts. So I also think that we would have maybe not been as attached to the people in Bella's lives and her human life and relationships if we had gotten just Edward's perspective. But I guess we'll see what his perspective really is here. I don't think that I'll be disappointed in this book no matter what it is, just because I've read all of the books and I know what happens. But at the same time, I feel like there is room for disappointment with this book. because of what he's thinking. So I don't think it'll like ruin the romance, but it might make me feel some type of way. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Let's get to reading Midnight Sun. I cannot believe that it's been 13 years in waiting for this book. Like, last time I read anything from this book, I was 14. It's been 13 years. I'm 27 years old. It blows my mind. But Midnight Sun, here you are. So, I lied. I guess I should say that a lot of people, I know people read Twilight, either the book or the series, before, in preparation of getting this book. But I didn't, because I want to get all the feels, as many feels as I can get from this book. It's been quite a while since I read Twilight. So I kind of want to be as surprised as one can be. I mean, I read the books dozens of times and I've seen the movies a bunch of times. So in what's happening, like, I'm not going to be surprised, but I think in what he's feeling and what he's thinking, obviously that's going to be new and that's going to give me the feels. But just being a little distance and having everything be a little hazy and a little foggy of how it happened in Twilight will help me be more into this book, I think, and feel all the emotions 14-year-old me was possibly feeling. Maybe, probably not, but close enough. I will get feels off of this. So here we go, Midnight Sun, for real this time. So, first chapter down, and I don't know why I thought that he knew she was coming. So I thought Alice had her vision already and he kind of knew what would happen. I don't know why I thought that, but now it makes sense that she like had the visions after, because clearly he was caught off guard. Yeah, I'm wondering if I made a mistake not reading Twilight. Just to maybe be more anxious for his side of everything, because I would have Bella's side already fresh in my mind, so I would be like maybe more angsty, wanting to know what Edward was feeling and thinking at the time. I think right now, like, his thoughts are a bit dark, obviously, which I knew from reading whatever I read 13 years ago, but I'm very interested to see, like, when the shift happens. Obviously he's gonna come back from Alaska like more determined to not murder her, but I want to see the shift in his emotions, going from hating her or just trying to see her as a regular human or whatever, to having feelings for her, falling in love with her, and all of that. So back to reading. So it literally took one chapter for Edward to be like, you didn't deserve my hatred. Like, I found it hard to believe that anyone so vulnerable could ever be deserving of hatred. Cool. I mean, clearly, you don't really hate her, but I'm finding it hard to get like into the groove of reading and her writing. I don't know if it's vastly different, or not vastly different, but different from Twilight, if it's just me having a hard time getting into this at my age. I'm gonna push through and try to read like 6 chapters, because that's really kind of when I immerse myself in the story, I think. But also, I don't know, I don't know if I was expecting there to be more of the family discussions. Like, he just has that whole interaction with her, their first interaction, and it seems like he went to say goodbye to Carlisle, but we didn't see that. We just see him in Alaska coming back. He decides to come back, so I don't think we're gonna get much of those like behind the scenes. So we'll see. I guess it'll just be really like literally everything that's happening with Bella, just from his point of view, not so much anything else that happened with him like outside of Bella. I mean, I guess everything's about Bella, but never mind. Just interesting. Did we know this? He says, it wasn't until I heard him speaking, forming perfectly coherent sentences despite his panic, that I realized that his anxiety and concern were not wordless. I just could not hear the exact words. Charlie Swan was not as silent as his daughter, but I could see where she got it from. Interesting. So talking about his mental shield, I guess he also has a shield like Bella, and I can't remember if I knew that from the other books. I feel like I will definitely get more into this now that this has happened, because we want to know like what is going through his mind at this point when he's trying to like convince her that she's crazy and yada yada yada. Also, his family ripping him a new one. I sucked in a breath through my teeth, and for once did not mind the agony of the accompanying burn in my throat. In a strange way, I welcomed it. Catch your face alive. Oh, for the love of all that was holy, would the catastrophes never end with Bella? No. A word I'd never said before in the presence of a lady slid between my clenched teeth. Love it. No, this vision had nothing to do with me, and yet it had everything to do with me. Because Tyler's van, the tires right now hitting the ice at the worst possible angle, was going to spin across the lot and crush the girl who had become the uninvited focal point of my world. So he's talking about like how so in love oh my god, Jasper, not Jasper, Emmett and Rosalie are, and I am so curious to see from his perspective and his interactions with Rosalie, like what she's actually thinking when she's totally bitter about Edward and Bella later. I love this. And then suddenly my skin was glittering in the bright sunlight of a small open meadow. This was a place I knew. There was a figure in the meadow with me, but again, it was indistinct, not there enough to recognize. The images shivered and disappeared as a million tiny choices rearranged the future again. I love how already he calls Bella like the girl, but he calls everybody else like the children. This man is literally already being jealous. Like, it didn't matter that Tyler thought she was pretty. Anyone would notice that. There was no reason for me to feel, how did I feel? Annoyed, or was angry closer to the truth? That made no sense at all. It makes no sense, Edward. You're right. We've known each other 3 seconds. I don't know why I'm acting like I'm not digging it. It's just, I mean, even as a 14-year-old, I had a bit of a hard time like wrapping my head around the whirlwind romances, and then Edward being so possessive, and Bella just kind of like letting it all go. And yeah, I distinctly remember like being so creeped out by him like putting oil on her hinges so they wouldn't make noise when he snuck in to like watch her sleep at night. And I cannot wait to get to that part to see like how he just like this happens and he processes this. Like, it's just okay, so it's a whole 24 hours later and I am still only about 270 pages into the book. That is not even halfway. I have only read for like 6 hours, to be fair. But yeah, I gave up last night, went to sleep, and only started reading again about an hour ago or so. Well, really reading about an hour ago or so. It's 7 p.m. right now. But yeah, I'm just struggling a little bit, getting fully immersed in it. I think it's because I know Twilight so well that it's not really as exciting, because with Bella's perspective, you're like anxious, waiting to kind of see how Edward is feeling, wanting to know how he's feeling, what he's thinking. But reading Edward's part, while it's insightful and it's great, like I already know how Bella is feeling. I already know the outcome of everything, so there's really almost like nothing at stake. I have loved some parts, obviously, and I think it'll get much more exciting for me when James comes in the picture and Bella's actually like in danger, to see what like Edward's actually thinking then. But until then, not as into it as I thought I would be. Some parts that I have liked. Number one, knowing where the pomegranate was coming from, and it's a reference to Persephone and him feeling like Hades for putting Bella in danger, and basically how he's handing her the pomegranate or whatever, and dooming her future. So that was good to know where the reference was coming from. We got to know that, and then seeing kind of how he fell in love with her, where we're like, I'm saying like a lot, aren't I? Seeing him fall in love with her so quickly makes more sense from his point of view than from Bella's, I guess, because you get to see him watching her and listening for her and seeing her through other people's minds for pretty much, I think it was a whole month, when they weren't talking after the accident, after he saves her. So seeing that he kind of saw her through other people's eyes and falling in love with her that way, that makes more sense than just him falling in love with her instantly or whatever. I mean, it's still pretty quick, but I guess it makes more sense. His stalking is still not okay, but it makes more sense from his viewpoint. Like, if you're Edward, I guess, I mean, he states like the whole time like, this is weird, this is not okay, like I'm crossing lines. But yeah, that whole like him being anxious of her dying at any moment and like wanting to make sure that she's okay, more acceptable stalking, I guess, in this context. Don't stalk anybody. Nobody should be stalking anybody. And then where else? I mean, I have had some feels when he's talking about, you know, him loving her more than she will love him. I love the scene where she cries in the car and he has like this whole internal monologue about making her cry and being sorry, and it's pretty cute. And yeah, lots of rambling on my part right now. So I'm gonna read some more. I'm at the part where they're going hiking and they're gonna go to the meadows, so I'm actually pretty intrigued to see what he's thinking during the whole like, are you afraid thing. Okay, so I am now at page 382, more than halfway, and Yeah, that chapter 17 was where it's getting really interesting to me to see his perspective. I got all of the feels in that chapter. You know, they have their first kiss. I will say, before that, when he has that whole flashback to December 1919, that was 9 pages of what I felt was unnecessary commentary and history to get to say that Bella was the joy of his life now and he did not need blood, he needed Bella. It was very boring, in my opinion, and unnecessary. However, chapter 17 was perfection. I think I will read it much quicker now. The pacing will be much better for me. Because this is where like it gets juicy basically. So yeah, hopefully it should be a breeze to read the rest of the book now. We will see. I might read a little bit more tonight. I might not. I don't know. But either way, I will update tomorrow on what I did or didn't do. Hi. So it's been over 24 hours since I last checked in. And I'm done with the book. I didn't really record anything. I wasn't reacting much. It did get much more interesting after the meadow scene, during and after the meadow scene. I was definitely more interested in his perspective during those portions of the book, during the last portion of the book. So what he was thinking when he was in the meadow with her, what he was feeling, what he was thinking and feeling when you know, James came into the picture, when he was torturing her, all of those things. So it did get better. The pacing was much better then. I was able to read through it much faster. However, overall, the reading experience and how I feel about the book was not how I thought I would feel about the book. So I guess we'll go over the not so great things that I feel towards the book, and I have my phone here for reference, I guess. So I guess one thing that's not, you know, the book's fault or anybody's fault, I guess, is that I was less into it knowing Bella's perspective, knowing both sides of the coin now, made the story less appealing, less surprising. I was not that much into it because there was no risk. I already knew how everything was gonna end, so I guess I felt less emotions. I was less invested in it due to that, and that shouldn't surprise me, but good on you for trying, I guess. And then things that I appreciated, storylines that I appreciated, unlike the Siobhan and Maggie 9-page flashback, I really enjoyed Rosalie and Emmett's flashback of when she brought him to be turned by Carlisle. Even Edward's murderous rampage, or I guess not rampage, you know, but him killing that one guy who was thinking about raping and murdering that little girl. That was a nice story. I enjoyed that. Of course, I really enjoyed Alice's the exploration of Alice's visions, and the multitude of futures she sees. I really enjoyed how they flushed out kind of what they were seeing when James came into the picture, and all the possibilities and futures that they could pursue that would eventually not work or would work, and how, you know, what the decisions they made were because that was the best choice based on what Alice was seeing, not just because, oh, this is like what we should do right now. Like, it was based on probability. So that was really cool. And then yeah, Edward and Bella's love story just doesn't do it for me the way that it did when I was 14, and that's something that I realized when I was reading this book in my teens. You know, I would reread Twilight once or twice a year from like 14 to 20, 21. And the more that I would read the book, the less into their romance that I was in the first place. And for me to expect to feel all the feels that I was feeling when I was 14 was unreasonable and setting myself up for failure, and that's basically what happened. So it was an enjoyable read. In the last portion, it was nice. I got a little bit more insight, and that was good, but it wasn't I loved this book type of feeling. I did not love this book, which is what I thought was gonna happen. I thought I was gonna sit down and not be able to put this book down. I thought I was gonna binge read it. I thought, you know, I was gonna just do one sitting and that's it, and that's not what happened. Sometimes I even struggled keeping, you know, pace because I felt like it was dragging a bit, and yeah, just not really what I expected. There were things that I really appreciated that she did, and I think the most important thing was, you know, her trying to make it known that his behavior is not really okay in other situations. So I think she was trying to right the wrongs that she did in Twilight, and, you know, with his stalking, and, you know, saying like, this is weird behavior, this is not okay, I'm crossing a lot of lines. So I really did appreciate that. I guess the most insightful thing we got from here was, you know, their first meeting and him feeling murderous towards her. But that was something that I already knew because I read the chapters of Midnight Sun that she posted, Stephanie Meyer posted on her website. So it wasn't really surprising to me, it wasn't shocking because I had already read that. I already knew how he was feeling towards that, so it didn't really do it for me. There was not enough new information in here, and that's what I was kind of looking forward. I think that we don't get anything new here, and I wasn't expecting a different story or anything like that, obviously, but I guess I was expecting to learn more of, again, whatever was feeling, what he was thinking, and it seems like it's not that much different from what he expressed one way or another in Twilight. I guess I thought because I didn't read Twilight recently that I would be more immersed in the story and that I would feel the angst more, that I would see more risks in what was happening, and it just wasn't there because I knew how everything would end. I knew that everything would turn out okay in the end. You know, she wasn't gonna die, he wasn't gonna turn her, nothing was gonna happen. So all the emotions that they were feeling and all the worry that they were feeling, I wasn't really feeling. So there's that. And then one thing that was disappointing to me was the exploration of Edward's emotions. I felt were not deep enough. I felt like it was very surface level. He talks about not wanting to turn Bella and not wanting to ruin her life one way or the other, like killing her or turning her And I guess the only thing that was nice in exploration was, you know, him thinking about planning to be with Bella as a human, which we already knew from Twilight, but really seeing like how far down the line he thinks that was gonna last, and you know, it going to be like towards 25, 27 maybe, like, and then her wanting something different than him, and that was kind of his plan, that was what he was hoping for. That was the only thing that was really like explored, and that was a new exploration. I felt like there was no really new exploration, and then his other feelings weren't dug deeper. Like, it was just, oh, I don't want to ruin her life because, you know, Rosalie hates being a vampire and she doesn't know what she's totally losing, but then you don't really explore what exactly it is that he thinks she's losing, what exactly it is that prevents him from really wanting her to be a vampire in any way deeper than just that. Like, I just don't want to ruin her life. I don't want her to, you know, regret it. I don't want her to hate me. That's it. Like, there's nothing else. In my opinion, it was very blah. So I wish they would have dug deeper to that and made it more emotional. Some of the titles of the chapters here were the same as the titles of the chapters in Twilight that I could remember, like what is it, blood typing, complications. What was another one that I could remember, you know, a special occasion, and quite a few that, home or whatever, I think was one of them, that I recognized. So I do want to see if they were the same. I did not check, but I want to check. So yeah, it looks like I knew inevitability, I think, was the one that is, she inherits this an impasse. When he says it, I was like, I knew that's the name of the title in Twilight, but not here. So I felt like maybe they're not one for one, and they're not. But there's a few that are similar. So, First Sight, Open Book, and then Blood Type, Port Angeles, Theory, Interrogations, Complications, which is really, Complications in Twilight is really another complication in Midnight Sun. Confessions, Mind Over Matter, which home is the Cullens. So Carlisle was the same. I knew that. The Game and the Hunt were the same. Goodbyes were the same. And then different. And then yeah, that's the epilogue and occasion is where they're the same again. So it's 24 chapters in Twilight, and then the epilogue with 29 chapters and the epilogue here. So one thing I love is that, you know, the book binding and stuff, everything's the same, it looks the same. I guess like the spines. I guess, yeah, the only thing that's different is these pages, the inside covers or whatever they're called. Pomegranates. So pomegranates were mentioned 7 times in this book, and Twilight was mentioned 3 times, if I remember correctly. And I feel like Twilight was not mentioned as much in Twilight as pomegranates were mentioned here. It's almost like she really wanted to drill in why she named the book, or not named the book, why she had pomegranates in the cover of the book. I did appreciate the whole metaphor, I guess, you know, with the Greek mythology and Persephone and the pomegranate. It was nice. I felt like it was a bit overkill though, that it was mentioned 7 times, like constantly, or reminding me of that. But yeah, so here we are, Midnight Sun. As they say, what is it that they say? You know, as they say, expectation is the root of all heartache. I also have heard expectation is the root of all disappointment, and I think expectation is the root of all suffering. I think I've also heard, but apparently expectation is the root of all heartache and disappointment and suffering. And expectations that I had for this book were disappointing at the end. And that's it. I never thought that that's how I would feel. I don't think it was my mood. I don't think it was how I was feeling. I think it was just really the experience, and like I said, the expectation and waiting for this thing for 13 years and just having such high hopes and wanting more angst from Edward's perspective and more of an emotional connection and more grief, if you will. I think I love when my characters describe their suffering. I think that's what it is. Just tell me everything that you're feeling. Tell me, describe why this is so painful to you. Describe why you're so sad. Describe why this hurts you so that I can feel that pain with you. And I think that's what it was. I did not get enough of that, of his describing that to feel it with him. So yeah, that's it. Midnight Sun is the book that I thought she should have written in the first place instead of Twilight, but it turns out that no, Twilight was the book that she should have written, and I apologize for ever doubting that that was how the story was supposed to go. But yeah, I don't know, overall, if I had to give it a rating, 4 out of 5, and that's because it's Midnight Sun, but also 4 out of 5 because it's Midnight Sun and I had much higher expectations. So that's all I have to say about that, I guess. And yeah, until next time.